What is your reaction to the story?
This was the plan from the beginning. First of all, we have a plan supported by the Arab world after the summit, supported by the majority, the vast majority of the international community, including the UK. The plan goes like this. We need to uphold the ceasefire. It was a US-mediated ceasefire that would have seen all hostages released. If Israel was after their own hostages, they would have been home by now. That would see the unhindered access to humanitarian aid under the supervision of us, the Palestinian government, and the international organizations. And it would see the massive rebuilding and reconstruction of Gaza and the reunification of Gaza with the West Bank under the Palestinian government, that Hamas has no role in governance, and everybody agreed on that. And we move swiftly together with our regional and international partners. You're aware of the Saudi-French initiative next month in the UN in New York to bring the world together to actually visit the root cause of all this and resolve this conflict once and for all on the basis of the international consensus and international resolutions, that recognition of the state of Palestine is required. You may have heard the French president and many others. So that's our plan. However, Netanyahu has another plan. And it's clear the plan has nothing to do with hostages. Actually, Israel is targeting their own hostages. The plan is not targeting Hamas. The plan is targeting the Palestinian people, depopulating Gaza, reoccupying Gaza. And guess what, Wilfred? It's happening also in the West Bank. You are aware what is happening in Jenin, in Tulkarem, depopulating tens of thousands of people, destroying refugee camps, infrastructure. So this is the plan. And the question is, how on earth can Israel advance its plan up against the rest of the world?
Well, there's a lot to get to there, but let's pick up on your final point first of all, because yesterday the Prime Minister spoke to the President of France, President Macron. A spokesperson said they had deep concern at the recent developments and that they agreed a renewed peace process was required. Is that enough? I mean, you asked the question, how can they proceed if the international community is against it? Is the international community, is Prime Minister Starmer doing enough in your eyes? Much
more is needed, absolutely. We've just concluded a visit by my Prime Minister, and there were a lot of conversations about this, about moving in a different direction, about the need of the international community, including the UK, to enforce international law rather than call for it. So if you want to enforce this, stop calling and asking Israel to abide by international law. Enforce it. And this requires sanctions on the illegal practices, including the settlements and the settlers. This requires arms embargo. This requires accountability against all war criminals and respecting the independence of the International Criminal Court. And this requires the recognition of the State of Palestine. If you want Netanyahu to listen, take action. Do you think that this plan, as was announced, and we'll have to see exactly how it manifests, comes with the explicit approval or implicit approval of President Trump? And is that really what matters here, as much as you might like to see more from Prime Minister Starmer? Well, we know that Netanyahu will not be able to do what he's doing without the support of the US. And remember, when President Trump and his team asked Netanyahu to stop in January, they did stop immediately. A ceasefire was achieved. And we saw the beginning of exchanging hostages. We saw the beginning of resolving the situation. So, yes, there is a responsibility on the US, being the closest and the biggest supporter of Israel and Netanyahu. And here is the conversation and the discussion about the rest of the world. The UK, France, and the rest of the international community. We cannot leave this at the whim of two individuals. We have to create a momentum in a different direction. Otherwise, what happens in Gaza will not stay in Gaza, Wolf. It will not stay in Gaza. This is very dangerous. The use of starvation as a method of war. You know, Gaza now is officially in famine. The last was a girl, a baby girl, Janan Skafi. She was only months old. She succumbed on Saturday because of malnutrition. She is number 57 to die of starvation. We are on the 21st century. to starve an entire population, displace an entire population, and announce it that this is your policy, and now you want to depopulate again to the south and reoccupy Gaza. So there is no conversation here. We need to create an opposite force. Sorry. We have to create an opposite force to this force of complete and utter zero-sum game by Netanyahu and his coalition.
I want to talk about the humanitarian situation in just a moment, but I guess to come back to one of, if not the key causes for where we are, and it's a question I feel like we've asked so many times, and forgive me for asking it again, but you must regret that all of the hostages have not been released? Would that change things?
I would have wanted, of course, from day one, we all wanted the hostages to be released. We always said that we also, Palestinians are hostages to Israeli system of oppression. We have thousands, Wolf. We have more than 15,000 now being grounded, mostly without charge, without trial. Some of them are children. So we wanted that to happen, and it started to happen since the ceasefire agreement in January. But Netanyahu is not interested in the hostages. Ask the families of the hostages. He is interested in this moment of time to advance his ideological agenda together with Ben Gvir and Smotrich. That agenda believes in one thing. There is no place for the Palestinian people. They must be annihilated, exterminated by the use of food, by the use of medicine, by the use of direct murder. And look at the numbers. This is, and not just in Gaza, it's all over, wherever Palestinians are. So this is rather all these pretexts about this and that, release the hostages. You think Israel seriously just interested in that? I mean, it doesn't add up. It does not add up.
Of course, that is not Netanyahu's stated aim, and they would deny some of the framings there that you've mentioned. Tell us the situation at the moment on the ground, the humanitarian situation.
It's apocalyptic. You know what? It's post-apocalyptic. It's people, and I am from Gaza. I speak to my family and I speak to my friends. I'm from Rafah. I was born in Rafah. Rafah is completely annihilated, totally destroyed, demolished. Like, I have seen images of Rafah, aerial images. This is the city I grew up in. I dread the day I go back. I could not realize or relate to any of the streets that I used to. This is unimaginable that an entire population will go through this for this long. Well, for this long, 19 months, total besiegement, denial of entry of basic needs, forcing them to be displaced. 1.9 million of the 2.3 million are now displaced, not only once or twice, more than 10 times. And Netanyahu now and the government asked them to be displaced again. And then, you know, the bombardment, the carpet bombing on a daily basis. And now people have no access to food, no access to hospitals. This is not only apocalyptic, but the most important question, how this will affect the rest of us and the world, how this will affect our international system, how this will affect the next war mongers, how the normalization of starving children, the normalization of targeting ambulances, the normalization of besieging an entire population will be received by other quarters and other criminals. This is the big challenge facing us. This will go much beyond Gaza, in my opinion.
Ambassador, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. And we did invite the Israeli government on as well to speak today, but not yet joining us.